ask you some questions. How are you? Very well.
Current relations come as a surprise to me, because you had the President Trump of that first term, and South Africa had very good relations with that administration. I'm not quite sure what has happened now.
Across the world. Of course, it will be naive of us not to admit that some of the executive orders, to the extent that there could be an introduction of a tariff levied on the goods from South Africa entering the United States, if there could be the prospect of us removed from AGOA, it will have significant implications on the South African economy, on the jobs, and that's why it is important that government must continue to invest in that relationship.
When I've at some point spoken about some of the issues raised by some of our Afrikaner compatriots when they talk about alienation in the society, I've said the best place to discuss those matters is in the national dialogue. Instead of people going to Washington to say you are being whatever, they must come to the national dialogue and make that presentation.
With that, the trade-offs, there can't be trade-offs when we want to deal with the system of apartheid that has deprived the majority of South Africans when it comes to issues around deracializing our spatial development patterns. You can't trade off that. The issues of the land, because there's nowhere in the new Expropriation Amendment Act where we talk about a hostile takeover of land or of property. It is within the confines of the Constitution, as what Comrade Ronald has emphasized. The respect for the rule of law, the respect of the Constitution.
That there were people in this country who don't want this democracy to succeed. And they intervened in very specific ways, like spelled out in the Nugent Commission, in order to make sure this democracy fails. And I'm hoping that what was visualized as a national dialogue does not fall victim to that kind of negative intervention.
Someone asked the question if we have any intention of removing American-produced products from South Africa from the shelves. No, there's never been such a consideration. Like I said, I mean, we know that we are going through a very difficult period, a very difficult moment, but we are going to invest in the preservation of that relationship. And just to add on what Comrade Parks was saying, I mean, outside the budget, I think we need to resolve the issues around the growth. And that's why it's important that these trade relationships must be protected.
And so that we, as all of us as South Africans, we can then discuss that. If you say, my cultural rights as an African are being denied, say it in the national dialogue and produces evidence so that all of us as South Africans can then say, well, what is to be done? Because the answer to the question what is to be done will not come from Washington. It must come from here.
According to data, both from Agri-SA, Stats SA, and the Department of Agriculture, South Africa only has 41,000, just over 41,000 commercial farmers. And therefore, there cannot be 72,000 commercial farmers living South Africa.
But consciousness, when it escapes you, it doesn't say